Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be me discussing my favorite drugstore and high-end makeup products in each category. So we're going to talk about foundations, primers, concealers, powders, bronzers, highlight, blush, everything that is my favorite stuff that I have been using ever since I started makeup. So I'm really excited about this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And let's just jump into this video. Okay, so why do I say that? Every time I always start, I say, okay, so I need to stop doing that. We are going to start talking about primers, and actually I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go through each category, so like primer, foundation, concealer, and I'm going to tell you my favorite drugstore and high-end products in those categories, just kind of moving down the line. I think that'll be faster. So I actually don't have a favorite high-end primer, mainly because I feel like I never really gave any of the ones that I tried a fair shot. I just kind of like used them every once in a while and then kind of put them off to the side. I know that there's a couple that I did like, but I just don't want to put in this video because I didn't love it. So I do have a favorite drugstore primer, and you have been seeing it in all my other videos, and it is this one right here, the Soap & Glory One Heck of a Blot Primer. And this says it's a shine block 12-hour matte spheres and pore shrink technology. And I love this primer. Number one, that it's from the drugstore, and two, that it keeps me nice and matte all day long in my T-zone. And it does have a slight shrinking effect to my pores, but obviously it's not going to make them disappear. But I do love this primer for that reason. I just always go back to this one, and I think this is like my second one, so I love this primer. I think you can get this at Target and Ulta and maybe Walgreens. I will definitely link this down below. I'm going to link all this stuff down below. Love this primer. Don't have a favorite high-end, but like this one. Next is foundation. And this guy right here is my favorite drugstore foundation of all time. This is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless, or Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, and I am in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. I find that this foundation makes my skin so flawless. I'm wearing it today, and the shade fits me perfectly. It's like my perfect foundation shade. This is the one that I always go back to, the one I trust, and it definitely keeps me matte. I think throughout the day I might get slightly oily, but not as oily as a lot of other foundations that I use. The only downside to this one is that it doesn't have a pump. I know people will buy like the MAC pumps. I just haven't done that, so that's the only downside. And then, I mean, it's a glass bottle, so it's not really travel friendly, but I travel with it anyways. But I love this foundation. It keeps me matte all day. It makes my skin look flawless. It's like a second skin, really. And that's what I love about it. I can use a brush or a sponge with this, and either way it looks really good. So I like the versatility of it. And I trust this one, so I'm just always gonna keep going back to this. So for my high-end foundation, I actually picked up this foundation when I first started to do makeup like seriously. I remember walking into Ulta and trying to find a foundation that would be perfect for like the summer, because I was going to Disney and I wanted a foundation that wasn't going to like move around, or if I was sweating it wouldn't like run or anything. And I found this one. Oh my god, I love this foundation. I remember when I first started, I was using like those, I don't know what kind of brush it was. It was like a flat it was called a foundation brush, but not like a kabuki brush. It was one that you just like paint on your face. And I mean, that method, this looked so good. And then I love this one with a sponge, but this one, I didn't even tell you what this is. This is the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation, and I am in the shade 2.1. This one, it's very similar to the Maybelline Fit Me. I'd almost say that the Maybelline Fit Me is a dupe for this because of the finish of it. When you put it on, it's definitely like a second skin. It doesn't feel like you have anything on. This definitely stays on all day, no matter if you're sweating, water on your face. It will not move or budge or anything. I love this foundation. I think this one is pretty old. Like, I've had it ever since I went to Disney, which was like, it was like 4 years ago. So I don't want to put this on, but I love this one, and I definitely need to repurchase it to see if I do still love it, like if they change the formula. But I definitely recommend if you have like oily skin. It says hydrating, but I'm not sure if it would be good for people with dry skin. If you have tried this foundation and you have dry skin, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'd really like to hear. Yeah, so love this one, highly recommend. Concealer is next. So obviously this guy has been my go-to concealer lately, so I wanted to mention it as one of my favorite drugstore concealers. This is the e.l.f. Camo Concealer, and I use the shade Light Sand. I really like this concealer because of the coverage that it gives me. I do think that sometimes it can be really hard to blend, especially if you let the products sit on your face for too long before you blend it out. It kind of just like sets really fast. That's the only downside to this, but the coverage I love, so I can look past it. And I think this was like $6, so definitely recommend if you're looking for a really good full coverage concealer. I know they just came out with a hydrating one, which I'm not going to try because that would probably make me super oily. But if you have tried that one, let me know if it's similar to the regular camo in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, drugstore concealer, favorite as of the moment. High-end concealer, my favorite, absolutely, like by far, there's no comparison, is Tarte Shape Tape. Ever since this came out, everybody was talking about it, so obviously I had to try it, and let me tell you, it's worth the money. It's worth the hype. It's so good. I've used this as foundation because I love it so much. It does not crease. It does not look cakey at all. It's like a second skin concealer, but it has so much coverage. I am obsessed with this concealer. I'm pretty much out of this tube. I've already used one whole tube before. I'm in the shade Light. It's pretty light, but I love the highlighting effect for like my under eyes and my T-zone and everything. I love how it looks. I think everyone that has used this, no matter what skin type, they have loved it. So if you're in the market for a good high-end concealer, highly, highly, highly recommend Tarte Shape Tape because it's one of the best right now. Moving on to face powder. I don't have like a favorite loose and pressed in both like categories, so I'm just gonna talk about my favorite face powders. So my favorite drugstore face powder is the Wet n Wild Photo Focused Pressed Powder, and I use the shade Warm Light. I like this powder because when you put it on, it's not like super thick and it doesn't sit. It just melts into the foundation and the concealer and everything you put on. Obviously, there's no flashback, which they talk about on the back, because this isn't like a white powder. It's like a skin tone shade. So I love that it has just a little bit extra coverage. Obviously, it doesn't give you a lot because it's not a foundation, it's just a setting powder. But I do love this. I love the convenience of a pressed powder at times when I'm in a rush and I'm trying to just throw on makeup, I don't want to deal with a loose powder, and I love this powder. It's so cheap and it's so good, so you can't go wrong with this Wet n Wild powder. As for high-end, Laura Mercier translucent setting powder takes the cake for me. I love this one, and I think a lot of other people with oily skin really like this one. It's just such a good powder. It's like a lighter, I don't think you can see because I'm definitely almost out of it, but it is like a lighter color powder, and it just makes your skin look so smooth and flawless. So, I mean, that's the reason why I love this. It was a little bit pricey, but I definitely think it's worth it because you get a lot of product and it does last you. Definitely recommend this one. I think this would actually be good for any skin type. I think any type of skin, any age of skin, I think this is a really, really good one. Okay, so moving on to bronzer. My all-time favorite drugstore bronzer is Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer. This is the most perfect color up for a bronzer, and it's got just like the most tiny amount of sheen to it to where it looks like a nice bronzy glow on your skin. Mine is super old, so like every time I try to use it, it looks really patchy on my face, so I need a new one. But the smell of this, it still smells like pina coladas, like you want to go to the beach. It smells so good. The product itself is so good. Highly recommend this bronzer to anyone looking for a really nice drugstore bronzer. This one's so good. And the bronzer one, not the light one, and I think there's a couple other new shades that they came out with, but the regular just bronzer is the one I like. It's like a very neutral bronze. It's not too cool, it's not too warm. It's that perfect in-between undertone to make your skin look like you have a good contour and bronze at the same time. I love this bronzer. Highly recommend Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. For high-end, NARS Laguna Bronzer is, oh my gosh, this bronzer is so good. I've had this for a while. This is the only bronzer I have ever hit pan with, but it's such a good color, and I feel like it looks a lot darker on camera. Obviously, I don't think it's that dark on me, but it's just such a beautiful bronzer. It just makes you look so contoured and chiseled. I haven't used this in so long because I kind of forget what it looked like on my skin, because this one, it is pretty old and I hit pan, so like whenever I try to use it, it gets everywhere. But I do love this bronzer and I hit pan for a reason. So I think this is such a good universal bronzer for a lot of lighter tone skin colors. For blush, I feel like I don't really have a favorite drugstore blush. I just kind of get like whatever colors I think I like, but I think one that I always seem to go back to is this Ulta Beauty Velvet Blush in the shade Princess. I think I mainly just come back to it because of the color. I think this is such a good blush color for every season, any time of the year. Like, this is one that you can always dip into no matter what type of look you're going for. This is such a beautiful blush to use. It does have like a really tiny amount of like sparkle shimmers in it, but it doesn't appear on your skin. It's just, you really just get the color, and I love that about it. It's just such a beautiful flush of like a rosy pink nude. I just think this is such a beautiful blush, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Ulta Beauty Velvet Blush Princess. Love this one. For a high-end blush, I wanted to talk about these guys. These are the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour blushes. I kind of the same thing with drugstore. High-end, I feel like I don't really have a favorite blush, but I feel like I love this formula, so I just wanted to put it in here because of the formula reason, not necessarily the shade reason. So kind of the opposite from the Ulta one. But these are such good formulas because of how long they last on your cheek and the colors like payoff that you get. Today I'm wearing Sensual, which is like a really good like warm like nude color. And it's just, I mean, obviously I don't like pack it on, but you definitely could with these. It just gives you like a nice flush of blush color, and it just lasts all day. So I think these are really, really nice blushes if you're into that type of blush kind of person. You don't like really want to like pack on a bunch of blush, but the formula is great. The colors are great. I highly recommend a lot of things from this company. Check them out, especially the blushes and the concealer. For highlight, I think my favorite drugstore highlight is this guy right here, which obviously I have talked about in a lot of my other tutorials, and it's the Makeup Revolution X Soap palette. I don't know if I say that right. I feel like I butcher it every time I say it. But this palette, I love this because I think it's such an amazing drugstore highlighting palette. Like these three shades, yeah, these three I've used. I think I've used this whiter one like on my eyes, but the colors are so amazing. For a drugstore palette, it's such a good deal. I'm wearing this on my face today. Actually, I used all three of these shades. I mixed these two, and then like I did a little bit of this one, like top it off, and it's so intense. I love this palette. This is such a great, versatile highlighting palette for anyone, especially I feel like this would be really good for like a makeup artist. But if you're not into the intense highlights, then I recommend this guy right here. This is the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder in Highlight 01. And I know a lot of people talk about this highlight because of how like light and the sheenness to it. I don't know if that's a word, but it's one of those highlights where you put it on and it's like you have a glow from within. It's such a beautiful highlight. I know a lot of people use this one for like bridal makeups, and I can definitely see why. It's such a beautiful highlight. You don't see like a streak on your face. It just looks like you're glowing. It's so beautiful. Definitely more pricey. Obviously it's high end, but I love this highlight. I always seem to like come back to it if I'm like, I don't know what highlight to use today. This is the one I gravitate towards. I love this. Definitely recommend for everyone. So the sun is coming in and out because of clouds, so I'm not getting the best lighting, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, for brows, I don't have a high-end brow pencil that I like because I haven't tried any, because I'm like, why the heck would I want to buy a $25 or more brow pencil? That's just insane, because I feel like every drugstore one that I have used has been just as good as, like, why would I even want to try? But I will talk about a setting like gel that I like, but first I'm going to do obviously the drugstore brow products that I have been using for a while now, and it's the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Shape and Fill Brow Pencil and Brow Stylist Boost and Set Mascara, and I'm using both colors are blonde. I love, love, love this combo. The pencil, I think I've showed you before, but it's that like really thick tip. It's not like other brow pencils that have the smaller, more like tiny little pencil into it. This one has that more thicker one, which I like for my a little bit thicker brows, and then obviously the spoolie on the other end. So I really love this one. The color is perfect for me. And then for this setting gel, I use the blonde. I really have been liking a more tinted. I really have been liking a tinted brow gel because it just makes my brows look a lot fuller, and I love this wand because of how small it is, and it just fits perfectly on my brows. So I love this combo. Drugstore, budget friendly, love these, highly recommend. And for high end, as I said, I don't use high end brow pencils, and I've never tried any of them, but I've tried a brow gel, and this one's from Anastasia. This is the clear brow gel, and I love this brow gel because of like how it makes your brows stick exactly where you want them. So you put this on and you run it through your brows, they're not going to move. They will not budge unless you scrub it off. And that's what I love about it. It makes your brow products and your brow hair stay exactly where you want them to. I really like this one. I don't know if there's a good drugstore like clear brow gel out there. I think ColourPop might have one, but I know like a lot of high-end brands have clear brow gels, but Anastasia, this is one of the best ones, so recommend Anastasia clear brow gel. Mascara is next. So kind of with the blushes, I don't feel like I have a favorite drugstore high-end mascara, but I think currently I do, and I have to say I have kind of been liking the L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. I feel like sometimes it does give me a little trouble, but I think overall it is a really good drugstore mascara. So that's the reason why I like it. I mean, obviously it's not like my all-time favorite, and I really don't have an all-time favorite mascara from the drugstore. But I just thought I would mention it. This is a good one. I think I just go through phases with different types of makeup products, and I feel like I don't really have a staple. But for high-end, this one I have been really loving, and I haven't used it before until I got that Whitney Tarte little like palette that she came out with the collab with Tarte, and this came with it, and this is their Tarte Man Eater mascara. And I have to say, I think this is my favorite high-end mascara because of the way it makes my lashes. I'm wearing it today on top and bottom, and it just makes my lashes look really flirty and feminine. It doesn't like clump like this one. Pretty much, it does look a little clumpy sometimes, so I do kind of have to like play with it, but this guy makes my lashes look so flirty and like feminine, and it almost looks like I have false lashes on, and I don't. So I really love this. Obviously this is the mini size, so it's just a little bit cheaper than the full size, but I really do like this as like a staple everyday mascara. So I highly recommend Tarte Man Eater mascara. So next is eyeshadow palettes, and I have to say this was really difficult because I don't really wear eyeshadow every day. If I do put on makeup, it's just mascara. So I decided just to talk about Morphe eyeshadow palettes in general because I think they're really good. And these are two that I have in my collection that I really like. This is the original Volume 1 Jaclyn Hill palette. She just came out with the second one. I haven't tried it yet, but this is the first one, and these are all the colors. Any Morphe palette is amazing, and they're really good quality eyeshadows for the price that you get. I do have another palette, the 350. Such a good warm tone eyeshadow palette. I also have this one right here. This is the 25B Bronzed Mocha palette. But all of Morphe's eyeshadow palettes are so good. The mattes are so pigmented, the shimmers and the glitters are so creamy and they look really beautiful on the eyes. So I think any Morphe eyeshadow palette is so good. So that's really all my favorite eyeshadows from the drugstore has been Morphe. So I wanted to mention that. But I do have a favorite high-end eyeshadow palette, and it is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I think I just love the colors in this palette. The colors in this palette are so pretty, and the pigment that you get from them are really nice. I'm wearing it on my eyes today. I have golden ochre and raw sienna in my crease, and then primavera on my lid. And then I also have a little bit of antique bronze, like pressed up against like my lash line on the top and the bottom. If you want a tutorial using this or with this look, I will do it. If you like it, please comment down below. So yeah, I love this palette. I love the colors. I love the eyeshadow formulas. I don't have a lot of other like high-end eyeshadow palettes, but I really do love this one, and I feel like every time I do a look with it, it always turns out so well. So that's the reason why I picked this one. And yeah, if you do want to see a tutorial using this palette, please let me know, and I definitely will film it for you guys. I don't have a favorite lip product from drugstore or high-end because I don't really wear a lot of lipsticks or like lip glosses unless like I film a video. Then I like take it off immediately because I get so annoyed. But when I do have anything on, it's Carmex. It's so funny. But I love Carmex, so I just wanted to mention it because that's what I wear on my lips every day. Okay, so that wraps up this video. If you guys thought this was an informative video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any other video suggestions for me, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear what you think I should film next. Yeah, if you had any other questions or comments about any of these products or other products that you love, please let me know in the comments below because I would definitely love to hear. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.